I would say like, oh, men age so well. Like I think men get more handsome as they age. But my friend said, do they? Or are you just conditioned to think that they do? Like we call them silver foxes and distinguished and handsome. And I was like, oh yeah, fair. But I think I see it a lot in movies and stuff like that. Like you have male movie stars.
Oh, crazy.
And I'm just like,
He's
this sounds really
75.
bad, right? But I was watching like a Liam Neeson thing. Is it Liam Neeson? Yeah. And I was like, oh, he's not that attractive, is he really? But it never crossed my mind. Like I never watched his films and I don't think about his looks full stop.
Yeah.
But whenever there's an older woman on the screen, naturally I'm thinking, or she's just beautiful, or like if she's not beautiful, you kind of like, you're so intrigued by the fact that this just non-attractive woman is successful and on screen and stuff. And it's like, yeah, I just find myself naturally, myself included, scrutinizing women's physical appearance more than men, which is...
It's a red flag.
I'm trying to be a ring girl, you know?
They're
like stacked.
Yeah, all the way down, mid knuckles, all of those. Yeah, because I love the rings that are like on this part of the finger.
Same.
I don't think I have the fingers or the hands for that, although I would like to.
You have lovely hands.
Yeah,
Joshua.
what do your hands have to look like?
I know you have those piano player hands for sure, but I don't know. Like
My hands are massive. I realized when I was like
huge hands.
15. Someone pointed it out. I didn't know until someone pointed it out. I was like, oh my gosh, Tav, yeah, they are big.
So I have a coworker who's a very small woman. Like she's like 5'1".
Yeah.
But she was like, I have really big hands, and I was like, you're exaggerating. She was like, no, I can palm a basketball.
Yeah, and you were like, okay, touche.
Yeah, and she
I
and
can
like
probably palm a ball.
so like that's my marker because I can palm.
See, look.
You also can palm a basketball.
Man size hands.
I had
Crazy, they're the same basically. Well, a bit smaller, but a tiny bit smaller.
shout out to you.
yeah.
No, I mean, I hate
Wingspan.
it. I used to hate it, but now
take off.
it's not that deep. But
Let's take your skills to the court.
Yeah, right.
right. I mean, I did play basketball.
You need to see.
Okay.
Look,
I mean,
get off the
at
internet
school,
and get on
like,
defense.
yeah.
That's what you need to be doing.
What was I?
How tall are you?
5'10".
5'9.5",
but I like to round up. So.
Yeah. No, you should. That's what I do.
Absolutely.
That's what I do. I'm 6 feet tall on the dating app.
Wait, how tall are you?
That's why.
Oh no! Like
How tall are you actually?
you remember?
Who knows? I can't. Like I said, 6 feet tall on the internet. That's where we are.
But you're tall, right? You're tall.
A little bit.
How tall are you?
6'2" and some
Okay.
change with no shoes on.
Basically 6'4". Yeah.
Basically 6'4". Round up
Basically
2
6'4".
inches.
Unless some like actually 6'4" pulls up, then he's.
I used to hate my height, but now I like it.
How does it feel being like a tall? Like, would you consider yourself a tall woman?
Yeah.
Yeah. How does that?
I used to hate it because I've always been tall and I was like taller than all the boys. I used to feel like cute and stuff. And then I don't know what happened. Literally overnight, I just started loving it.
Did it feel like, so if you're taller than boys and you're looking down at the boys, does that like, what does that
Feel masculine.
Okay, I was gonna say that, but I didn't want to.
Yeah, because I dated like a girl who was like a 5'10", and she had like a bit of a hang up around like being not feeling feminine.
Yeah. That's what it was.
Like, girl, like for one, like tall queens.
Yeah.
You're beautiful. You're
love you.
feminine. All love.
Uppies, pick me up.
Yeah, right. Don't put me down either.
Don't put me down. Yeah.
It's just so interesting how like we view ourselves and like the schemas that we come up with and like the things we tell ourselves, because like I can look at anybody from the outside looking in, like you are absolutely feminine, beautiful as hell. Like I don't see it, but if someone doesn't believe it for themselves, it's like it doesn't matter what anyone else says. Almost.
It's funny because I don't look at. Well, I love being tall now, but I didn't look at other women who are tall and think anything like they're masculine. But for some reason,
for you,
it was a thing. And then, I don't know what happened. Honestly, I just love it now. It makes me feel. Am I better than him? No.
Oh yeah.
No, I'm joking.
A little bit superior.
Yeah.
You literally.
I literally step into the room.
Since you're tall, like, are you like, I need like someone who's like taller than me? Gotcha.
I met my husband years ago, and my only physical requirement was that I wrote it down. I said taller than me in heels. And I knew it was unrealistic. I put brackets in heels.
Is it unrealistic?
I mean, for some of my height, yeah. Well, I mean, not unrealistic, sorry. Not unrealistic, but obviously
small
the numbers are not,
You shrunk your pool.
Yeah, exactly. And just luckily enough, I got it. But I think now, I'm 30 now, if I was single and looking, I don't think it would be as big of a deal.
What do you think changed? Oh yeah, and when did y'all meet?
Just I was at uni. So,
okay, so like early 20s.
Yeah, like maybe 19, 20. Yeah.
Okay, but now what changed?
Probably just maturity.
Yeah,
and you just and you see more people with that high difference, and you realize it's actually not a big deal. I say that.
You're not no big giant.
Maybe it would. Maybe it would still matter. Actually, I don't know.
It might. I don't think.
I think the thing that, because I know like the conversations we had with the suburban boys, because me and Josh are taller than average, and the suburban boys are taller than us.
Okay.
And my thinking has always been that like I don't care if somebody's taller than me because that doesn't make me short.
Yeah.
Like I'm confident with what I got. So like you can be 6'7", that doesn't make me short just because you're 6'7". And what struck me in that conversation was how they said like, no man, I'm like real attached to.
And that's the thing that I've said, because I'm like, if you go for like, if you're shorter than 5'8" as a man, you should be aiming for women who are like 5'10" and up, because those women are more likely to. Because it's going to be harder for them to find men who are like taller than them. Okay. They're going to end up having like a period of their life where they're like thinking more about whether or not that's even matters, and they're going to go through all of that, and they'll be like, hey, fuck it, I can go for any height.
Okay, fair.
And then so they go for somebody who's short who maybe also doesn't care in the same way. Yeah. Because if you're 5'8" and you're trying to get somebody 5'2", she's like, well, no, I want a guy who's like taller. And the guy who's taller doesn't mind it. But the tall dudes, if you're 6'4", and your girl is 6'5", it's like your whole identity is like centered around being 6'4". Yeah. So you're like, I'm not dating a 6'5" woman.
Yeah.
So if you're 6'5", get you somebody who's 5'8", and it'll work.
And that's what I was saying. I was wondering like if men mature in the same way. You know what I mean? Like, do men ever get over it, or is it always just like a salient part of like identity? Like, oh, I'm 6'4", I need to be the tall one, et cetera, et cetera.
I think it depends on what you
and I've heard, like, I have my experience, which is like I don't care, and I've heard like suburban boys say like, no. Like I need to be the tall one. That's what I bring.
I think that a lot of guys definitely do attach their like masculinity to their height. Like especially because if you're tall, and like just by being tall, like there's been like just little day-to-day, like average day-to-day things where like a girl like, oh, do you mind getting that? You just and you just feel like, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm a protector, you know, I'm so
I'm a big boy.
Yeah, I think it depends on whether you're the kind of person who does put your identity in your height or not. And I guess if you don't, then you don't care. But if you do, then you want to stay tall. So, like relatively. So,
and I think it feels like, and for you, like if you're going, okay, cool, I no longer feel like bad about my own height, but I still feel like attraction or like a positive relationship to another person if they're taller than me. That still to me is like it's like about the relative height. It's not about where do I fall, and it's like I want to have a partner who feels this way relative to me.
Exactly.
So yeah, cool. I'm big, but like
I
want to be little. Yeah.
The tall people stick with the tall people because I remember I used to get so annoyed when like girls who were
stole by the short.
You know, like girls like 5'2", she's like, I want somebody who's 6'3". And it's like, but what about us? Like, what's if you take all the tall guys? But I guess it doesn't. Well, it doesn't. Really
I just told you my theory.
Yeah,
you got to go the other direction. Like once you get past 5'10", you got to go the other way.
Yeah. It is it's just social conditioning that you think. Oh, if a guy's shorter than me, it makes me feel masculine, or he's doesn't
biting
feel...
at your ankles and stuff. That's not.
Yeah, exactly.
No, that's wild.
Yeah. Come on, I love you. Sorry, we got to get to this crowd. Let me just.
But from women I've seen talk about it online, they have nothing but praise for like they call them short kings and stuff. Mm-hmm. They're like, he's the best guy I've ever met. He treats me so well. All this kind of stuff, and it doesn't. I think once you get past the mental. Whatever social conditioning, it's whatever.
Yeah. I still think ultimately, like, even though I think that some of the stuff is exaggerated, I do think that there's like a big body shaming element to the way it's like approached. Yeah. And I think it's the same way that like bigger women or just any kind of woman that doesn't meet whatever the standard of beauty is receives. And it's like, you can still date within that. And I do think that you can have your preference that isn't that, but you have to not, like, once you start denigrating people who aren't your preference, like if you like this type of woman, you like this type of guy, cool, but once you start going, oh, like, why is a man, why are you under 5'7"? It's like, that's ridiculous.
But I don't think women do that, right? Because again, like statistically, most women are with a short king. Like online, like 5'10" and below is short. Yeah. That is 76% of men.
Yeah.
So they have the preference, which is again to your point, like fine, like people are open to their preferences as long as there's not being hurtful or denigrating the opposite of that or something outside of that preference range. And most women clearly don't. Again, these women that are online saying they like 6'4" niggas or whatever are very much like going home to their baby daddy that's 5'8",
Yeah.
and they don't play about them.
I think that applies to most things
Yeah.
though. Like you think, oh, every guy likes a girl with a BBL, but then you see
No.
outside in real life, most women's bodies are like
Pancakes is still getting love.
exactly,
100%.
exactly. And the same with what was the other one? Like interracial dating and stuff. They'll be like, oh, all these successful men only date white women or whatever, and it's like every wedding I've been to is a black and black, and it's just
The one that gets me is when they say athletes,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah.
they point out one athlete, and then they miss like that.
The
The
team
whole rest of them, like it's like Russell Westbrook and his beautiful black family never comes up or whatever. But it's like, oh, look at who
I think it
Ben
sticks out
Simmons
more,
is
yeah.
it
is
does
dating
stand
or
out
whatever.
more. Yeah.
I
I wonder what the I don't know what the stats are because I see a lot with athletes and
don't know about athletes, but I know for black
might be
men,
something, I don't
it's
know. Yeah.
for black men it's 17% date interracially.
yeah, which is crazy because
Is
if
that
you're on
high
social media,
relative
you
to
think
other races or
It's one of the higher interracial
Yeah.
dating statistics, but it's not the highest.
what's the highest? Is Asian women, white men?
It's ethnically Latino men, so like whatever that means to some people, because
Mexican, Guatemalan,
because I mean that's funny in terms of whether or not you consider that a racial
Sure.
category, depending on who's doing the study. And Asian women is pretty high as well. East
Wait.
Asian women,
what not
but
not
black men are really high in terms of how much they date interracially.
not the wait when you say
Not them two together.
not together,
right?
just
Yeah.
they
Them
date
dating,
outside of
yeah.
oh really? I'm surprised by the do you say the Latino men?
Yeah.
I'm surprised by that one.
Me too. I'm not surprised by the Asian woman.
No, I'm not surprised by that.
Yeah, I
nobody's
mean,
surprised by
everybody knows.
Aren't they
They
like
know how they move.
aren't they Asian women number one on dating sites, or is that white women followed by
Oh, I've seen that stat of
Yeah.
like who gets the
Who
most
gets the
responses
most
and
love.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I
Black
think it was
women?
Asian women and like Asian men were at the bottom and
Yeah,
Asian
we
women were at the top or
Yeah.
something
Crazy.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is wild.
it is wild.
Yeah, I don't know. Let me introduce this podcast real quick. So, welcome everybody to Waving the Red Flag, the number one dating and hype politics podcast in the universe and all of the tri-state area and all of the British Isles. It's your boy Eddie, it's Josh, it's Alvin. We're in London, in the London podcast studios right now with video essayists.
Adella.
Fadi.
Oh.
Oh, my fault. Well,
you did that, and I thought
I'm about to mansplain her name. So
no, you did that, and I thought you were handing over. Yeah, hi, I'm Adella.
No, that's what you, we got to cut that out of the edit. That's crazy. Even though people still date outside of those preferences, I think sometimes they don't appreciate their partner when they feel like they're not getting their like ideal person, when they feel like they've like settled or something, you know?
As in, sorry, what do you mean?
As in like if you as a guy or as a woman are like, okay, I want to date XYZ thing, but obviously people aren't going to get everything they
okay.
want. So they date someone, they settle, they
Yeah.
make compromises,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
mature or whatever. But then I think some people still harbor some resentments of
Yeah.
like, why are you talking to me crazy? You weren't even my top pick anyway, kind of
Okay,
energy.
yeah,
And
I
I think
hear
I
that.
see that kind of happen a lot.
I hear that. That's why two things I've heard women say: don't date an ugly man.
Yes,
heard that.
exactly.
Oh,
yeah.
because he'll treat you like worse than anybody else
Yeah,
or something like that.
and also because when he does piss you off, you're gonna be like, "How dare you?
Why? Yeah.
How dare you?" But I've also heard people say that there's a girl from the UK, Tony Tone, and she, I don't know if it was a tweet or something about apparently men, they don't date their biggest love, they date who's there when they're ready to settle down.
I think that's everybody though, right?
Yeah,
Really?
There's always
Yeah.
that one that got away. Like, well, not always.
Yeah,
but
no.
It's a common.
Yeah, right. Like
Really?
You don't
know,
think that's the case with women?
I don't know. Sorry, my mom's calling me. Turn that off. Oh,
Put her on loudspeaker.
Ask her the question.
Yeah, get her
Imagine.
the previous
She'd be like,
generation. How do you feel about Adella's father? Like, well, actually, there was a guy before.
there was a
yeah.
guy. I don't know. I just think that's quite sad.
I don't think so.
Really?
I-
But
yeah.
so, what, are you saying that, you know, in an ideal world, you would have married that woman that you were in love with ages ago, or are you still happy and content in your decision?
I think the thing is like the same thing that I was saying about resentment, which is that I think like relationships and like romance and like building lifelong bonds with people is bigger than like a spark.
Oh, 100%.
Like
Yeah,
20
yeah.
years with somebody is more significant than like this person that you like had that summer fling with and there's a spark there. So I think marrying someone when you're ready to create that, like creating that bond when you're ready to create that bond is when you should create that bond.
I agree. I think
I think that's just romance.
Okay, I get that. And I think maybe it's how you view romance, because I would view that person as like the one I actually want to be with.
Sure, fair enough.
But I think it's maybe sad if you're like, actually I would prefer to be with that person, but I just wasn't ready at the time. They got away. It's a big regret. Now
the dudes that like on their anniversary or like when their baby is born hitting old girl, like it should have been you.
That's
crazy. That's crazy.
That's wild.
And I think that's when you're not, like when you're. I'm a big fan of settling. I think settling is good, but you have to actually do it.
Yes.
Like commit to it and be like, no, I want to get settled in with someone. I'm not like resentfully, begrudgingly being pulled into a marriage with somebody that wasn't my top pick. Like, no, I'm choosing to live my life with you. Let's do it.
I think the connotations of you saying settling is good is kind of weird, but I get I agree with everything you're saying.
That's why it's a bar.
Yeah. I get what you're saying, and I don't disagree with what you're saying. I just think settling has certain connotations. I think
it does. But I think they're wrong.
I think making an active, conscious decision to do what you've described is a big thing, and actually a much bigger deal than the quote unquote spark, which is often fleeting.
Yeah.
Like the one you
with
think
incompatibilities and shit. Like
and you look at it from nostalgia glasses. It's like looking at like a show you thought was really good when you were 14, when you just started like experiencing what cinema was, and you like look back at it and you're like, this actually wasn't that good.
It's kind of trash. Yeah. Beetlejuice wasn't even that good.
I think a lot of people look at those things from rose-colored glasses. So I agree with you. When you're doing that and you're mature, it means more, but I wouldn't call that settling. Like I would never say, "Hey, man, I'm settling with you." Like that, I think that's a wild way to phrase it.
No, that's fair. I think
I was just gonna say I would frame it as I'm settling in with you.
That's what I'm
down.
Think about that.
That's almost a bar.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's a snack size bar. It's a Halloween Snickers. Yeah,
I think people need to. Maturity, I think, is also trying to find a way to combine or match up what you need and what you want. Because I think when you settle, sometimes is when you think you want this person, you want like, I don't know, someone who's excited and spontaneous and blah, blah, blah. But what you actually need is someone who's like stable and mature and things. And I think as you mature, hopefully the things that you need actually become the things that you want. And so sometimes it feels like you're settling, but it's like, no, actually, so if you say you want someone who's 6'4" and you end up with someone who's 5'9",
end up with is crazy though.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, you are with
subtle shade. The shade is just baked in.
No, I mean, right I just think in the end, you're with the.
It's a hot day outside. She's sitting in the shade.
I don't think it's settling. I think it's you maturing and realize actually the height wasn't important. What I want is someone who's X, Y, and Z, things that I need.
And I do also think that there's some level of, and I'm gonna give the grain of salt that I'm very much on some level, you got to accept me for me kind of situation. But I also think that on some level, you need to be willing to work with your partner to kind of give them some of the things they want. So like, if
I'm a madman, I got to mold a little bit. Like,
like it's like if they like excitement, like shit, like do something that they feel is exciting.
We can get a hot air balloon, whatever.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. We're going to Madrid next month. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, do some something to kind of like keep them interested and all that kind of stuff within reason. I don't think that people should completely throw away like what they thought they wanted because they found a partner that was only 85% of what they wanted. Like work on it, work together, grow that kind of shit.
And I think that's like the most beautiful thing because like you always have to like water your own grass. Like if you find somebody that has 80% of what you want, what you're looking for, and that 20% might be like that one big thing. It's like, oh my God, like she's so loving, she's so caring. But damn it, there was Kate that used to do like X phenomenal, and I wish I could have had that, but I don't have that with you. Whatever, I can live without that. But you're the person that I really want to build this thing.
And it's also like, and I know Eddie hates when I say we had this conversation on the pod too. And
don't say it then. Why would you say it? I don't like it.
I also think it leads Simi into some other stuff. But it's also like in relationships, I kind of feel like I'm always working in a relationship. Like I feel like I never feel like. I feel like I'm earning you all the time.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm
always getting performance managed.
Yeah, and I think some of that is
crazy.
I think some of that is my grind set mentality. I think some of that
is
my
much on your hustle culture shit.
Every day I'm on my job. Okay,
I am the man
1% better every day as a boyfriend is wild.
I am the man that my company has made me to be after 4.5 years or whatever. But
propane,
I do think that there's something to that, right? Like I do think there's something to like.
I think you should
being in a position and saying,
partner,
and saying like I'm gonna continue to work at this. I'm never going to be complacent. I do realize that.
Yeah, I like that.
And I also think it goes to my ideas of like marriage is like a business arrangement more so, which is also again my grind set mentality.
Yeah,
but
I love how that sounds, but it's just like a thing of self-worth. Because I can take that, I like the way that sounds, but when I think about it and I put it into practice, that would affect how I feel about myself. Why do I feel like I'm working to earn someone else's love that I love?
That's where we disagreed last time we had this conversation. It's like I don't want to feel like I'm not secure in this relationship. Is I think a valid rebuttal to what I just said. Like I think that's completely reasonable as well.
Is it working to earn their love, or is it just working to try and make them happy? Continue to make them happy.
I think the framing is what, because I like that of being like, let's say I knew you would never leave me, but I love you.
Yeah.
So I want that time that you spend with me to be as best as I can possibly make it, because I love you, not because I'm afraid of you leaving me. And I think the distinction between those is where I disagree. Yeah. So I agree with that framing.
It's going to sound wild. That's why I like marriage. I always say that in the nicest way possible, it's a bit of a trap. But like in a good way, in a good way. Because it's like sometimes.
But I like it here.
It's like great. Like you're trapped, but with love. Like it just makes it. Obviously, it just makes the exit barrier a bit harder. Yeah. So I think.
So you're just like, cool. I'm gonna be here.
Yeah, I'm secure.
You're
here. You're not going anywhere. But obviously, out of love, I'm gonna try and make this a good experience for you.
But still, I like you.
Yeah. Because I feel like there's times where, you could easily have broken up, but I guess having that. I mean, it depends on how you view marriage, but having that commitment of like to exit this would be very long. It's like, let's actually work at this.
And I think like a 5% difference in like quitting something can make you just stick with it.
Yeah.
And that's good.
I gotta let them know up front, man. Like I'll leave.
Really?
Leave tomorrow.
Yeah, but don't you think it's so somebody who was your girlfriend versus someone who's your wife? Obviously, your wife can fuck up bad enough that you're out, but like, isn't there just like a 2%, 3% difference?
Really?
You're out on the same level of thing.
Divorce.
See, look, I work.
Legitimately.
No, I told you, no snoring in the bed. You're done.
Here's the papers.
It's time to annul this business, right?
I wouldn't leave my girlfriend for that, right? Like I wouldn't leave my girlfriend for that.
Mergers and acquisitions, okay.
The level in which I would consider like leaving like a long-term like committed relationship is identical.
Okay.
Marriage literally changes nothing for me, which is why like, and I've struggled with that like my entire life, right? Because it would change nothing for me. I was like, why would I do this? But then it's also like, because this would change nothing for me. Like, why wouldn't I do it?
I think emotionally it wouldn't change anything for me, but I think logistically it would be harder to leave a partner that I was married to, and it would make a difference.
I think psychologically it will change without realizing, just because like
True.
you go for a rough patch, and maybe if I'm just dating you, I'm thinking, oh, maybe this is a sign that like it's not meant to be, maybe we're not compatible, blah blah blah. But when you're married, you're like, oh, we're going for a rough patch, but I have to figure it out. I have to like.
Yeah. Have you been like in? Because I feel like I've been in relationships where I was like, we're married, kind of like we live together, our finances are intertwined. No. Have you been in that before?
No. I think my relationships before my marriage were kind of short, relatively.
Okay, gotcha.
Kind of short, and there was no like moving in together or anything like that.
Gotcha.
So,
yeah, I think that's the big difference, because like when you're in that relationship where it's like, we do all of the
marriage
stuff,
stuff.
Anyway. Marriage is like making it a government contract.
Okay, got you. Yeah,
But my whole thing is like I fully believe that in the modern sense of marriage, like I can get the fuck out of here money. You know what I mean? And like the woman that I see myself marrying is gonna have at least as much money as I have. So she's gonna want a no contest. So like I have lease break money. I can go to a hotel or Airbnb for 6 months money while we sell a house. I can get a new car money. I can get, you know what I'm saying? Like I have like, because I think most of what ties people together is intertwining of life and finances, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. I have money where I can like immediately.
You're not
untwine.
Which is why I think financial freedom is like
I can
very, very useful.
And again, the woman I will marry,
she's got the same thing.
Is going to have that as well. So like I can immediately be like, if that's what I want.
God damn.
But again, I have a high bar for what that would be. Again, in any committed relationship.
It's Alvin Bourne, not to be confused with Jason Bourne. God damn, that's some cold shit.
It's a killer right there. Oh my God, that's Alvin Bourne. This marriage doesn't stand a chance.
Oh my God.
He's doing Krav Maga in the
Jesus
kitchen.
Christ, that's Alvin Bourne.
Okay, let's try to hit one of these little topics.
I like them all. Should we talk about the beauty standards one? Let's see what we got. It'd be interesting to hear you guys' Thoughts?
I watched my husband and all of his friends age. It wasn't even a conversation. It was almost a non-event. And then I see women my age for the last decade scrambling around from 40 to where we're all in our 50s now, as if they're in some kind of serious disintegration of themselves. As if they have to like take everything they can possibly get their hands on and like figure out a way to stop or reverse or anti-age. Women experience this: don't age past 30. Get yourself embalmed. Stay frozen forever so that you don't obviously become any more human than that. But for men, their bellies will swell, their hair will recede, they will go gray, and they will be called distinguished looking. I truly am perplexed. We don't see any representation, hardly at all, in movies and music and culture and modeling of women who are aging. This double standard exists in every aspect for men versus women, and I'm just so tired of it. Come on, ladies. Let's just do this. Let's do this the way men do this. Naturally, organically, beautifully, celebratory. Let's make it our power. I don't know what everyone is so afraid of. I truly am perplexed.
Do you know what's kind of funny? Is that
What's kind of funny?
she's quite conventionally
Yeah,
attractive.
yeah.
And it's so funny 'cause I think, I see that a lot. And it's like, obviously, you know.
Why can't we all just age gracefully?
Yeah,
She's just like,
yeah. I see that a lot. I see that a lot.
Meryl Streep in The Devil Wears Prada.
Yeah, exactly. I see
Hair
that a
all
lot
laid down.
with people who talk about topics, and it's like, you know, it's not your fault. You're hot. You can still speak, but
it's a little bit her fault because I'm sure she's doing things to maintain that.
true. I agree with most of what she said. Yeah, it's hard out here. I think it's funny because I remember one time being like, and I still kind of think it, even though I get that it's probably a conditioning thing. I would say like, oh, men age so well. Like, I think men get more handsome as they age. But my friend said, do they? Or are you just conditioned to think that they do? Like, we call them silver foxes and distinguished and handsome. And I was like, oh yeah, fair. But I think all of our preferences are conditioned.
Yeah, of course.
Like, if someone was born in a vacuum and they grew up in a vacuum and they just didn't, they'd come out and they, do you know what I mean? In their head, they might be thinking, oh my gosh, like big ears and this and that, like, because it's just come out of nowhere. But obviously we don't.
What do you think a caveman would be into? Like,
Exactly.
would you think he'd like BBLs, or he would be like, ugh.
Who knows? I think because they do, they argue that.
True.
They what?
The Venus of Willendorf. Yeah.
Was it given BBL or?
Yeah, I think. Well, she had the natural BBL. It's like this little statue, and she's one is crazy on this statue. Yeah.
Because they say some of it is what is it, like instincts, like big hips and all that stuff. And
height for women is pretty instinctive.
Yeah. So I guess there's that, but I do think that a lot of it is conditioning, and I see it a lot in movies and stuff like that. Like, you have male movie stars.
Oh, crazy!
And I'm just like, this sounds
75.
really bad, right? But I was watching like a Liam Neeson thing. Is it Liam Neeson? Yeah. And I was like, oh, he's not that attractive, is he really? But it never crossed my mind. Like, I never watched his films and think I don't think about his looks, full stop.
Yeah.
But whenever there's an older woman on the screen, naturally I'm thinking, or she's just beautiful, or like, if she's not beautiful, you kind of like, you're so intrigued by the fact that this just non-attractive woman is successful and on screen and stuff. And it's like, yeah, I just find myself naturally, myself included, scrutinizing women's physical appearance more than men, which is sad.
I think that we kind of exaggerate. Like, okay, so I do think that there is an attractiveness to older men that does exist for some subset that's real. Where it's like, cool, if he's got his hair, if he's got gray, if he's wearing a nice suit, he's still got his little jawline. We're like, oh, cool. Like, George Clooney's been hot since he was like, you know,
ER. You know,
since ER.
Since 25,
but he's looked like a hot 45 since he was like 28.
Yeah.
So I think that some of these guys were like not really like. If as a woman you walk down, like say you're 25, you walk down the street and like look at the number of men who are over the age of 40 and count how many of them you find hot, it's going to be like nearly zero. Like, when you really see the little grandpas like on their little canes, and you're not like, I want to fuck that guy. You just notice when you see like a guy in a suit who's like, oh, I think he's got a little gray streak.
Yeah,
like,
I get that. But what I will say,
you like a little Danny DeVito's
no,
doing it a little bit.
not that. Okay. But what I will say is
that what a little gray. You said Danny DeVito.
I don't know.
I have this theory. Is it a theory? Anyways, I have this thing where I think that there's a such thing as, like, I don't know if you call it stage presence or like the spotlight thingy where men especially can be hot just because of their swag or their personality or they've got money or whatever. And I don't think women can have quite the same. I think they do to a bit. I do think you can. I love it. I think it's a good thing because it means anyone can be hot. But I do think women, to an extent, can like convince you that they're hot just because they're like so into themselves. But men more so. Like how many? I'm so sorry not to name drop, but like, this is controversial.
Shout out to
Michael B. Jordan.
You don't think he's hot? I mean, a lot of women agree with you though. You're not in the minority.
What's the other guy? Jonathan Majors.
That he's fine. Same thing with Jonathan Majors. They're in shape. They have 12 packs.
Yes, I agree.
And then you look at like this, and they're like either regular or
That's
like.
what I was gonna say.
I think Jonathan Majors is an exception to this. I think women didn't like Michael B. Jordan is like who you're supposed to find attractive. He's got nice teeth, whatever. He's got a nice smile or whatever. I think Jonathan Majors, people were like similar to Pete Davidson, where they were like, "Fuck, I don't like that he's hot to me." And I feel like that's a more honest version of attractiveness.
I think that's fair.
That guy from The Bear.
Yeah, you've called him ugly hot.
Jeremy
before.
Allen White.
Like,
I say he's hot, ugly hot though.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. I don't think women have ugly hot to the same extent.
That's not well, they do, but
you think?
Yes, but I agree with your larger point.
Yeah.
Maya Rudolph.
I don't think she's. I don't think she's.
Well,
One, I don't think
when
she's
she was
ugly.
younger.
One, I don't think she's ugly. Two, I don't think she's hot. Those two are not synonymous.
She's regular.
Those two are not synonymous. Like you can be. You can be
ugly without being.
I'm gonna get counseled on this one, but like I said the same thing about Zendaya. I think Zendaya is extremely pretty. Like I look at her and I say like, wow, that's a pretty like younger cousin. Like I don't think she's hot. Like she doesn't invoke that feeling in me. So like. Yeah. With Maya Rudolph, I think she's not ugly by any means. I think I look at her and I'm like, oh, like she's a good looking like woman if I saw her down the street, but I don't think she's hot in the least.
What I wanted to say though, in response to like women not necessarily being able to carry themselves in a way that would just make them hotter, because I disagree. I've seen plenty of women who
busted. But
is it garnish? Is it garnish? Because that's my theory, right? So it's like you think this woman is attractive anyway, and then her swagger is like the cherry on top. Versus like this is a woman that you find ugly, and then you get to know them, and they move in that sort of way, and now you're like, wow, this woman's really attractive to me.
But that can take you from like a 6.
It can definitely. Which is a lot. I think it definitely can take you from a 6 to a 7 to an 8 or a 9. But like it's not going to take you from a 3. From a 3 or a 4.
Yeah, you're going to go from unattractive to very attractive.
Yeah. So like on the extreme end, but so if a real ugly dude got money and got a seal.
Seal is pretty. I think
he's
just got.
I'll roll that one back, and we'll just keep this in big.
We're all getting canceled today.
I know, right?
Everybody.
No more name dropping.
Nobody's hot. Everybody's ugly.
We just got finished talking about beauty standards and how important it is to not be body shaming.
The duality of the podcast. Woke to
I think it's a good thing though. I think it's a good thing, the fact that anyone can be beautiful because of like if you just give enough energy, if you're confident enough, sometimes there's people who are so confident in themselves that I think I'm wrong.
Yeah.
So if I look at you and I don't find you attractive, I'm like, oh, I'm in the wrong here because
I should fuck you.
Do you know what I mean? You're obviously beautiful because like the way you're carrying yourself, I'm like, I obviously just can't see it. So
where'd you get all this confidence from?
Yeah, I think it's great, but I do think men, like your point, can go from literally being not conventionally attractive at all to. And people just think they're beautiful for whatever reason, usually because of fame or because of their personality. And not even just famous people. I've seen, do you know what I mean? I've been caught by many not good looking men who just, their personality just got me. But I don't think women have quite the same grace.
I'll give you that. Yeah. Because I was thinking more along the lines of, okay, she's relatively attractive. She's average, but her confidence, the way she walked, the way she dressed, like she was just. I mean, fuck that. Sometimes that was the icing on the cake, my brother.
Hey, that's better.
But I think they're also enhancing their beauty though.
It has a different color.
Whereas I don't know if men have to do that as much. I mean, everyone can do it, but I think a lot of women can do things to enhance their beauty. But the fact that they even have to enhance anything, I don't know. Maybe it's from my point of view. I more than I would like. I think about my physical appearance more than I would. I'm comfortable with.
I feel like so my theory on men's attractiveness is that I think that, okay, how do I say this? It's not crazy. So I think that like story is more important in women's attractiveness than it is with men.
Story.
So what I mean is you can take an ugly man, and if you put him in a movie where he's like his identity, his story, his like 100%. He achieves, he's ambitious, he's whatever.
Or he's a villain.
Or he's what?
A villain.
Or he's a villain.
Yeah.
And you go, because villains are people who they enact their will on the world, and that's like attractive, I think, for men. So I think if you take that story and apply it to any man, then what happens is women go, whatever type of face that person has is now a hot face. 100%. And then there's like a season where it's like, oh, we like big noses now because Jeremy Allen White was in The Bear. And so I think that's what's happening, and that doesn't happen with women.
No, exactly that. Yeah. I think so. But it's also, I think it's good because just in general, I don't like the disparity between men and women.
It helps us.
Yeah, but it's good in the sense that...
I think a BBL is actually cheaper than like creating a story, honestly.
Yeah, probably.
It depends, man. It really depends.
And I think you can do it off screen as well. Like, it can act as a side, I think.
There's some crusty, line cooks that were people
but they just have...
I like the tattoos.
They have a swag about them,
like,
and also knowing how to lean into just your strengths, like whatever that is. Like
I say that all the time. That's a running podcast trope on it. My thing is, I think what we're talking about is all accurate, and I think in the real, everything she said was accurate. I don't think it addressed the question as posed.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, we didn't even talk about the topic. Yeah.
Do men not struggle with aging and receding hairlines and shit? So like, I can point to our example. I think even the men in like Hollywood do things right. So
they got Jackman looking crazy. Like, why do they keep unfreezing him every 3 years?
Botox and lipo and like jaw restructuring and color. Fake abs, all this kind of stuff. So. I think that men do this stuff, but again, it still doesn't impact them in the same way that women does. I think those are two different things. I think even in Hollywood, even amongst those people, like the effects of beauty standards are maybe even 2 orders of magnitude greater on women. But men definitely do this shit. Like this whole idea that men don't care about this at all is weird. Like I'll point to our example, Eddie. What have me and you been doing this entire London trip every 2 hours?
Sunscreen.
We've been putting on sunscreen.
Oh, really? I was actually going to ask you guys if
what
that.
have y'all been doing every 2 hours?
That's crazy. Yeah.
we've been reapplying sunscreen this entire time because we are struggling with that. You know what I mean? Like,
is it because you're noticing changes in your skin?
And maybe trying to prevent them, I suppose.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, how old are you guys?
Is that undisclosed?
Is that undisclosed? Okay. Are you older than me? Younger than me?
Well, you just said your age.
Anyway, never mind. I just assume everyone's old. I'm used to being around older people, so I assume. But anyways,
it's not hard to figure out how old I am. Like this is my actual name. So
oh right. Okay.
So I'm in my early 30s.
Okay.
So I mean, it's this idea that men don't do anything because that's the one thing I probably would take like offense to, where it's like men don't do anything.
Men do a lot less. Like
men do a lot less.
Yeah.
Men do a lot less.
Yeah.
And regardless of what men do,
it matters less.
It matters less because the effects are so much more outsized versus like women. And
but I also
the impact is so much greater.
I think it depends. Like, so one, I think going back to the story thing, I think women don't get to be allowed to be like ugly and interesting, like in stories. Like they don't get to be like, look, dude, I'm ugly, but I'm a fire scientist. So let's make a movie around me. It's like, cool, we got to get Brie Larson or somebody super hot to be like, I'm doing science, but like, look at my tits.
Yeah.
And so, bro, they did it in 3-Body Problem. Like they replaced the male lead with like the hottest woman you've ever seen, who's doing like she's like a nanoparticle scientist.
Oh yeah.
Why? They got like a knockoff Anna de Armas to play the main character, which is fair enough. She didn't, it's not her fault that she's hot, but it's like, did they choose that character because of that? Because the character has to be hot, whereas all the men just look regular,
Yeah.
So what was the thing that you just said? Oh yeah. So besides that, of like, I think women don't get the same opportunity but in dating, I think that part of what we've talked about of the gaps of like men feeling dissatisfied or whatever is that I think men don't attempt to make themselves desirable objects in the way that women do. And I think
they don't.
I don't think not to the extent like it's not even close, like a tenth maybe.
We don't have to.
Yeah.
But I think we do. And I think that's why we have like men who are frustrated because they haven't even attempted.
I'm with you now.
Like we have a bunch of dudes who are like, I can't get a girl, and it's like you haven't made an attempt to make yourself a thing for women to desire.
I think
because
it's
we
both.
don't think. Yeah,
I think it's both, depending on what end of the spectrum you're at. I think both of you are right. So I think there's a set of men who don't have to try, and they're gonna, they're gonna be successful regardless. And then I think it's a set of people, as I've said multiple times, that have to play to their specific strengths a little bit more, or maybe develop new strengths to kind of adapt to whatever the market is.
Yeah.
And they're not doing that. And then they become, to your point, the
frustrated,
people who are,
understandably,
like, frustrated,
yeah.
unhappy, going on, male retreats, screaming.
I don't even think that's that bad of a fucking thing.
That was fucking horrible.
I think it's funny, but I think being like
it was absolutely horrible.
I think you're going on a self.
If somebody had threw a football with that gentleman, like that never would have happened. I wish to God that somebody would have like mentored him when he was like 15.
But they didn't. So what are you to do when you're trying to? Because if you're trying to get into your feminine energy later in life and trying to figure out what that is and how to love yourself and take care of yourself,
or your divine masculine,
right? Why can't you practice your divine masculine at some point in the future?
What is this retreat?
Oh man, some crazy. Let me see. Yeah, it's just screaming in the forest. Let me see if I can find a clip. But go ahead.
But here's my issue with the retreat, right? Because have you seen like the basis of that retreat?
I think it depends on the retreat. So I'm arguing only for the concept, not for because that particular one probably is bullshit.
Yeah. So like that all started with the guy who was like, I'm a horrible person. I'm dealing with all this stuff. I went to therapy, and therapy made me better. And then he put together this thing. Instead of encouraging men to go to therapy to get better, like he got better, he was like, yeah, I really only got better because I had all of this adversity. So how can I create adversity for men to become this? No, motherfucker, just tell them to go to therapy. You could have done this. You could have done a similar grift and just been like, I'm a motivational speaker.
Yeah.
I'm getting you to go to therapy because therapy helped me. But instead, I'm gonna charge you $14,000 to $20,000, depending on what experience you want.
14 to 20. That's crazy.
Like, so that you can have the adversity that made me better. When he's vocally said
that the therapy was the solution.
Yeah.
Was the solution.
Yes, this is bullshit because I've definitely seen like those real like divine masculinity like retreats for all men to go on like they're older adults. And then they go into the woods and like they scream out the top of their lungs, but they also do have like therapy sessions where they talk
breath
to
work
each other.
And all that type of shit.
Exactly. So I've seen that. This is bullshit.
Yeah.
So that's cool, but I thought you were just shitting on the concept in general. Like, man, fuck.
I think we all agree this is dumb.
Yeah, this is dumb.
But I think
this is what I'm talking about.
Because I also like you. Sometimes like you got to make boy shit boy. Like when we like. Girlify girl products. Nobody is like, oh my god, why'd you have to make the?
Actually, people do that all the time.
It doesn't make sense.
Say what?
People do that all the time.
Do what all the time?
When you girlify girl products, people say that's stupid.
That's true. But
Yeah.
I think there's more space for people to be like, okay, cool, we're making this thing and we want to now market it to women. Let's make it a little bit appealing.
Or girlify a gender neutral product. Like something like I girlify like children's toothpaste or something like that. Like people say that's stupid all the time.
But I don't think it is stupid, and I think there's a little bit more space here, and at least that I give. And I'm like, yeah, if you want to go, like, cool, all right, we're doing therapy, but it's man therapy. I think fair enough. Fuck it. Like I don't see how that's.
If it works, it works. I mean, I get what you're saying. At least short term, long term, I think.
You think it causes problems?
I think it causes problems long term.
Well,
but there's got to be a step one.
Yeah. Okay, so this is what the dumb shit is that we've been talking about.
Come on. He was like these. Oh my! This is
Please
crazy.
fucking mentor the youth, man. I gotta like.
I thought that was that neuroscientist dude for a split second. What's his name?
Little boy.
I don't think this will work in the UK.
No,
No, we're just not as.
y'all are already cold.
We're so reserved. I think we would just cringe at something like this. Yeah, I think anyway. Do you know what? I get it. Like, I do think everyone needs like resilience, and that only comes from a bit of adversity. But it's not the only. It's not the whole solution.
No,
I think that's the only problem.
And then I mean, like that just I don't know something.
it's corny.
It's corny, and then it just seems toxic as fuck. It seems very toxic.
I think if they weren't in a parking lot, it would feel a lot less stupid.
If they were
to be in the woods or
In a
something.
hotel conference room,
Right.
This will go over.
I think if they were like in a spa, like or something like that, or like some kind of actual retreat with like walls and like maybe wood floors, like it would just seem less stupid.
Okay.
It seems like oversimplified masculinity that could be applied incorrectly in so many different situations where you might need to be more in divine masculinity.
Yeah.
versus.
What would you say
What's
is the divide?
Yeah.
It's like David Dida. It's like you're in touch with like the feminine, like empathy towards yourself and the others. You have genuine love for yourself. You can be the provider. You can be the leader, but that doesn't overshadow like other people's masculinity. Like you're not afraid of someone else's masculinity.
Yeah.
Or subjugating. Not subjugating, but what's the word when you
like putting someone down?
That is subjugating.
Subverting?
No. It's when you do it for yourself. It's like when you like bow
suppressing.
down. No. Anyway.
Submitting.
Yes, thank you. Submitting to like feminine energy as well.
Okay.
It's like that give and take, and that doesn't make you any less masculine.
Yeah.
Like you're securely and rooted in.
Yeah, I think that's true masculinity and good masculinity. I think it's just so like when it's very like overt, and when people use alpha male and things like that, I just think it's just.
And I've said this on the podcast. Like I think it's weird how people do femininity and masculinity, because usually it's just like everything you just said is both.
Yeah.
Right. Everything you just said is both to me. Like I don't think any of that needs to be. I think, and again, I know Eddie and Josh. Like most of that is just something that like a person should do. I don't view leadership as a feminine or masculine characteristic. I don't view providing as a feminine or masculine characteristic. I don't view nurturing myself or anybody else or empathy as a feminine or masculine characteristic. I view it as something that a person should do, kind of period. So I think that like most things are, if I'm using the same schema, just gender neutral.
Before I disagree, do you have?
Yeah.
I don't know. Oh gosh, you guys are so smart. I always have like, so my brain is like doing this, but I like it. I'm stimulated. I don't know, because I've recognized that I do typically lean into more feminine, stereotypically feminine tendencies, and in my relationship, it's quite. He's more masculine, I'm more feminine, and it's very so. But I don't know if that is just us, and if that's just me, or if that is because I always question this whole like nature versus nurture thing around us women, generally speaking. Obviously, not all of them, but like just exhibit more feminine traits naturally.
No idea.
Naturally, outside of like obviously what life has made of them, and men as well. Like so, like a healthy man and a healthy woman, are they just naturally going to be more feminine and more masculine, or is it because that's how we've been conditioned? I always question that. And I don't really know the answer. I do think there's an element of nature, maybe more so than we like to say there is nowadays. Just because of things like childbirth and child rearing and
sexual dimorphism.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
I don't know what that means, but I'm like,
we got different bodies,
Oh, okay, yeah, exactly, stuff like that. So I do think naturally, but I think the problem as well that irritates me is that somehow we've ended up in a place where I think a lot of the time we see masculine traits as stronger than feminine traits, superior, and better as well. So it's like maybe women in the workplace feel like they have to be masculine to succeed. And it's like, no, actually, because if everything in this workplace was pure masculine energy, it would be horrible.
Men don't know how to write emails.
Exactly. Stuff like that.
Or lead. Like the stereotypical feminine characteristics actually make you a better leader.
Exactly.
Pro-social type shit.
Yeah, but we associate leadership with a masculine energy when that's worse for leadership, which is why I think it's like the whole concept is kind of wonky to begin with.
That's why I say divine masculine, my brother.
I feel, okay, there's several good points in there. I feel like, one, I do think that there's more like nature shit than we, like you said, like are willing to admit, which I think is like, I do think that men have a tendency towards aggression that can be channeled in the wrong way or the right way by society and the way you raise boys.
I agree.
But I think straight out the womb, I think because I'm not a very masculine dude, I would say, like in terms of the whole thing, but like definitely you catch me like pre-puberty, like rambunctious in a way that young women are not. Yeah. And so I think that's one of the examples of like the way there are some differences, I think.
Yeah. But I think that's super common. Yeah. Like boys,
they tear shit up. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I got
shit over just because why not?
Yeah, hella friends. Like, man, like got one friend that got twins, boy and a girl. Like, he's like, man, my little son. It's just a pure observation, like just noticing how different they are, And it's a commonality between like a lot of people. It's like, oh man, my son's running around this motherfucker, turning up. You want to be rough house. My daughter, like, you know what I'm saying? She's just like,
they're different.
Really, like, you know what I mean? They tear shit up too, but it's way different.
Yeah, and it's on average. Like, it doesn't mean that there aren't boys that are gentler and or girls that are more aggressive. But I think with the what is masculine and what is feminine thing, it's like when we say something is masculine or feminine, essentially what we mean is traditionally such. There are words that help us categorize behaviors that are associated with genders. So, and because you kind of said, oh, they're all gender neutral, but then you also said, like, the very next sentence over, masculine leadership isn't really leadership, and it's like,
I did this intentionally when I did it though.
But I think that quote that we're using, I'm
using the schema to relate to the topic. But yes.
Yeah. And so, okay,
but
fair enough.
I think you're spitting though, so continue.
And so I think that when like we have those conversations of like, is there value to the things that we consider feminine and value to the things that we consider masculine? Yes, and having two different words to characterize them makes sense because our society is socialized in that way. Like, women as a social category exists, men as a social category exists, and you can observe very clearly differences in the way that we like conduct ourselves in an office place or in a relationship.
The thing about that is, and even. I'm just gonna go ahead. Just gonna hit y'all out there. Like, most of what y'all just said was bullshit in regards to children. That's like not how that does. So like what happens is
you nodded when I said the first thing.
Yeah, no, because I think your overall point was very good.
Okay.
But like, for example, like children, socialization of your children, boys and girls, starts day one.
Yeah, true.
Pink blanket, blue blanket. So a lot of how you even build out like the toys that you get, like a small girl child versus a boy child. Day one, how you dress them, how you do that kind of stuff. So by the time they start exhibiting those behaviors, they've already been indoctrinated into the socialization matrix. Like they're not.
Really
that's not
understand what that means though, and say, "Oh, yeah, I'm going to act more masculine."
I think we reward certain behaviors.
They do. I mean, they do.
Like, I'm just like very basic level.
No, like very high level. Like, yeah, that's how you get indoctrinated into a society. Like, it starts very early. And yes, children are more perceptive of social things than we give them. Right? Like, children are actually better at reading faces on average than adults, right? That's why they're much more empathetic in terms of how they do that kind of stuff. Like, there are studies to support that. I would actually even say that the only thing that I agreed with in regards to that was once Eddie started making like a biological argument, but that probably would start around puberty when like a male is like, say, like flooded with like testosterone. True, yeah. But even still, when you start looking at stuff like aggression, that's also socialized, right? Your amygdala response literally can change over time based on what you're doing.
Can we try and hit the core point?
I'm going to hit I'm going to hit the core point immediately after this. The point is that everything that we're saying is a result of socialization.
All of it.
And I think the argument that is being made is that people should do this because society is as it is. And I'm saying that society shouldn't be that way because there is no reason to do it. Plus, it's also much more harmful to one group versus another, right? So I think you should dismantle that dichotomy because, one, there's no reason why it has to exist. There's no reason why it has to exist. Even when you look at like biological shit in terms of modern people, that doesn't even really make sense anymore. And I could break that down with Darwin's, on origin of a species and sexual selection, but I'm not going to. But all of what you're saying is basically like this is how it is. So like we should like lean into it. And I'm saying that this is mostly harmful, so we shouldn't do it because there's no reason why we should.
So I think the core point that got skipped over is to what extent there's like any natural differences in men and women, but
very little, right? So even when you look at stuff that
some is the question
it's
that
some.
Are significant.
It's some, right? So like neurologically, very little. Like there's probably one area that's a little bit different, the preoptic area of the brain. Probably not, but maybe. In terms of looking at how like other animals do stuff that literally leads to different stuff, it's because there's a wide gap in stuff like size and strength. For people, sexual dimorphism is like 20%.
Not that
versus
big.
Like a male gorilla that's like literally like twice the size of a female gorilla, right? So a lot of the stuff that even people latch on to and that kind of stuff is pop science or just wrong. Like it doesn't have to be that way.
So then on the thing of like what's the value here? I think if your argument is like we shouldn't be talking about divine masculine, divine feminine, we should just be talking about like good traits for human beings and just kind of have like a gender abolitionist like sort of approach to this shit. I think that's fair enough, but I don't think it makes any sense to pretend like masculine and feminine aren't categories.
And that's why I think you were spitting. That's why I think like me and you like we come to some sort of agreement on this one because I think you're absolutely right on that. But I do think that we should look at it as like,
and like we got to do something on day one.
Things don't have to be things. Yeah, you have to do something on day one, but things don't have to be how they are.
Yeah, true.
Things change.
What you think?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Brain is on fire.
I think my question still stands. Like, how much of it is nature and how much of it is nurture? I do think there is an aspect of it that is nature, but the focus. I just think as people we ruin stuff a lot, and so we just sometimes take things too far. We take things too literally. We do all these things, and I think if we focus on having good characteristics and good traits, and maybe leaning into your natural strength and things like that, I think that would be better. But I do, and also I guess even if there is some socialization happening around like masculine and feminine, I don't think it's necessarily all bad. It just depends. Some of it is bad, some of it's not, and it's just you need
Dresses
to
are cool. It's
use
all right.
you just use common sense to be like, okay, is this something I'm going to lean into? Is it healthy? Is it toxic? And all those things.
Yeah, big
But,
facts. But I think maybe Josh has something to tell the people a little bit.
Thank you so much. I absolutely do. Good people, ladies, gentlemen, non-binaries, MBs, everybody.
Envy them.
Big
That's what
MB.
foreigners say.
Yeah. Would you like to have conversations and speak like Alvin? Maybe Adella. Or Eddie.
Or Josh.
Or perhaps even myself. We've got just a thing for you. It's a red flag card game. You've heard of it by now. You've probably played it. You might have already bought it. And if you did, thank you so much. Much love to you. Big shout out. So what we'll do is we'll play a quick little game. And these are always good for a great conversation. And just pick a good old card.
Shipping now to the UK, by the way.
We are always, yes indeed, shipping now to the UK. Adela, are you aware of this new hot game that's been sweeping the streets?
I'm aware, but I've not played it.
Sweeping the nation.
Can I have one? Did you gift me one? Are you gifting me one?
Oh, shit. Yeah, I brought. I
I'll
literally
order
brought
one, I'll
like
order
5
one.
packs. No, I'll give you a free one. I literally brought like 5 packs to give to all the people
did
we
you?
collaborated with. I just forgot to. You can have this one actually. Yeah, it's
I'll
just
take it.
dusty, but you know,
Okay.
yeah.
It's just
I wanted to give
It's
you
been
one
used.
in the like shrink wrap shit. You know.
Okay,
We'll all
so
sign it.
Oh yeah, I
We'll
mean,
give you this one signed, so it's
Yeah.
like
it might be
one day
worth
I'm going to sell it
something.
for a lot.
That one.
So the concept is you have to discuss whether this is a red flag. Or
in
not.
dating, exactly. You're dating somebody, and you go, if they blah 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 blah.
Okay.
This is a red flag.
So, is it a red flag if they have self-harmed before? That's a heavy one.
That's a tough one.
No, I don't think so. I think you said before, so they don't do it anymore.
Yeah.
Ooh,
That's the
I didn't take it to mean that. That's interesting. Yeah, maybe if they no
Oh
longer do
right,
it.
that's how I took it. Actually.
No, that's a fair point. Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
No, I think everybody has demons. Everybody has things that they struggle with. I think the question is like, where are they right now? Like, what are they?
Yeah, no,
where
true,
they at?
true,
Yeah,
true.
where
Yes,
they at
yeah.
right now? Why were they self-harming? Like, what's the root of it? So many like follow-on questions I'd have to ask.
Yeah.
So yeah, initially off the bat, no, but the follow-up questions could reveal
Issues.
some things.
That's
yeah.
where I think.
And then I think it's also me as well. Like, so what if I ask them why, what was the reason, what was the situation, and then I pair that with me, myself, and maybe things I go through, and can I handle it, and is this a good match? Then I'd have to go down that route.
It would be a little concerning, especially the severity of the self-harming, like how frequent it was. Like, but, I get it. People go through things and like they cope however they might cope in a very difficult situation, depending on what led to that trauma, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, it's like, okay, well, how long ago was it? Have you been getting help for it? Are you still doing this? What are you practicing now? So if you do have a relapse, or if something does trigger you in a way that might have caused you to self-harm before, are you going to do that again? Like, is this something that we need to be conscious of, like, present day? And, of course, if someone is, like, physically hurting themselves, it's a red flag. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, it is a red flag. So, and there's a sign of danger and that person needs help. So I would say if they have done it, not necessarily, but, we got to ask those follow-up questions.
Yeah. And red flag means I can't go forward with this.
No,
right?
see, because to me, I guess it depends. Like everybody has their definition. To me, it's like a red flag is this thing like correlated with a problem? Meaning it doesn't necessarily mean it's a problem. Just I need to investigate. And I would say for this one, like yes, because it would make me ask questions.
Yeah.
So I'm like, because if it was like, oh, they like gardening, is that a red flag? I'd be like, well, no, that's not anything. But if they self harm, I would be like, okay, do they have problems with like regulating emotions? Or are they still doing it now? And there's like a high chance that both of those questions could have like not good answers. So I would say yes, but I would say I don't know if I would say self harming by itself is like a bad thing. Like I think. And I don't know, maybe there's a controversial opinion, but I feel like everybody kind of self-harms.
That's actually
like
what I was going to ask.
I was like,
what are we considering self-harm is what I was going to say. So like I drink.
Exactly.
No, and that's why
there's no good. I know you specified.
Yeah, because I was thinking I self-harm
That's what I was thinking
all the
of.
day. I drink, and smoke. So.
Yeah.
I didn't get a lot of sleep last night, self-harm.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think that those things are ultimately like pretty fucking bad. Like if we look at them objectively, but I think the connotation of physical self-harm versus like me going and having 5 whiskeys tonight or whatever
is normalized.
Yeah.
And I think that when I'm looking at like when we hear the word self-harm, we think of like the stereotypical like manic pixie depressed girl or like emo self-cutting. Like are you slashing your inner thighs, your wrists, and that kind of thing. And I think that, and again, this might be controversial, so take it with a grain of salt. I'm not a therapist, but I feel like it shouldn't be as like shamed as like any other thing. Like if you're like, if that's a
binge
way,
eating or
say binge eating, if it's like, because I eat, I comfort eat and stuff like that. So if it's like, cool, you cut yourself and you're doing it cleanly, safely, in a way that helps you regulate your emotions, I think long term you should aim towards not doing that. But I think looking at that as like you're immoral or that's bad or that's incompatible with a relationship right now, I think not necessarily.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Is there really a way to cut yourself? I mean, I guess so.
Well, it's harm reduction because I mean, when you think about like safe injection rooms and shit like that, because like I'm pretty sure there's a therapy model with self harm where it's like you can't hit somebody who's self harming with a like bad dog because that just re-internalizes the shame shit.
Yeah, and that's because I mean, like when I've experienced a little bit of that with someone else, and you know, it never was like a bad dog. Oh, what do you know? It was very comfort, like loving, like what's going on, like you know, you provide them that space, but it's also. Hey, it's not necessarily okay. It's not, you know, it's not something that, you know, you should resort to doing. It's not a what the fuck? Like, you know, so you just beating them over the head trying to get them to do better. But no. Like you approach that situation with love, but you don't want to encourage it, you know?
Yeah. I guess maybe and that's why I said it's a controversy. I think maybe I'm like it's about as bad as drinking too much or taking too much drugs or smoking too much, which is to say like everybody does this shit. People have their different ways of coping, and I'm like, if that helps you regulate your like bad emotions and you're not damaging your body, like if you're not cutting through muscle tissue. Again, maybe I'm crazy, but I'm like, if it works for you short term,
it's harm reduction.
Reduce the harm, cool. Yeah. But it's like I'm in the same way that if somebody has a drink at the end of their stressful day at work, I'm not going to be like, oh, what's going on? Like, we need to figure out a way.
I think we should though.
Yeah, maybe.
I think I wouldn't
disagree with that.
I think they're all harmful, and I think just socially we don't question someone when they come for eat or when they drink, but we should,
yes.
or they should question themselves. Like, and you could argue that drinking every day might actually do more harm long term than
it probably
cutting
does.
yourself.
It almost certainly
it probably does. Yeah,
kidneys are
but I'm not interventioning y'all every day. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
yeah, exactly. Because I think socially we
fuck you, man.
No, but I mean to the
I can
point.
quit anytime I want.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. He's like Pringles. Once you pop, you don't stop. Okay, I think that covers it. I think that's the episode. So look,
that's the whole episode done.
That's it. We keep it short and sweet.
I didn't say half. I don't actually know what else I want to say. Sorry, carry on.
No. Hit.
Yeah. No, do you know what it is? Honestly, I know I keep saying this, but you guys are so smart. And I'm just, as you're talking, my brain is like doing this. So I feel like I haven't spoken as much as I normally speak, and I can chat.
Oh, you know, you chatted.
Okay, fair. All right.
You got some. Buzz
I mean,
off, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Cool. No. What's the closing remarks?
I don't have anything.
I love to talk.
People are lonely.
Yeah.
No. I'm joking.
So look, if you see a very hot older woman telling you that it's okay to age, despite the fact that like women are pressured to look beautiful in a way that men aren't, you might be seeing a red flag. But at the same time, if you hit your self-harming partner with a bad dog, it might be you that's waving the red flag. This has been Waving the Red Flag podcast. It's been Eddie, it's been Josh, it's been Alvin, joined by
Adella Afadi.
Yep. And if you want bonus content like all of our travel content that we've been doing while we've been out here in the UK, join as a member of the channel. So you can get that on Spotify, you can get that on Patreon, you can get that on YouTube by becoming a member. Like, subscribe, let us know what you think about all the shit that we said in this. And of course, cop the card game, shop.wavingtheredflag.com. And we'll see y'all next week. You know what I mean? It's what it is. Thanks for coming through. Seriously. Oh, and of course, where can the people find you?
Thanks for asking.
No, sorry.
After we've walked out the studio.
You can find me mostly on YouTube at Adella Afadi, my name, and also on Instagram, Adella Afadi. Where else am I? I'm on TikTok, Adella Afadi. I'm on the other platforms, but not very active. So yeah, check out my stuff there.
Cop that.
Link it down below. It's good. Link down below.
Link will be in the bio.
Yes, please. Thanks.
Easy. We have that technology. We got you. Yeah. All right. Cool.
Thanks so much for coming through.
Thanks for having me. That was fun. Oh gosh, my brain is. Is this how you guys talk every day?
It depends.
I mean, sometimes
It is actually.
It's like,
God damn, I'm exhausted. You know.
It's a